Hello, here is your YouTube class session. Hi YouTubers, I'm Tony Bomboni, and this is going to be an ASMR version of how to manifest whatever you desire, spiritually, metaphysically, however you may call it. So I'm going to be using this whiteboard to demonstrate this. And a cloth to wipe away, handy dandy Windex for spray, and a select few markers. So I will begin with the brown marker and change colors if I feel needs be. Okay. So, first off, to manifest. What is to manifest? Let's write this down. Sorry if the whiteboard is a bit tappity tap tap tappy tappy tingles. Squeaky. So, manifest. What is manifestation? Manifest is to bring something to reality, from intangible to tangible. So something tangible is something you can feel. Tangible. So let's write a dash or a bullet point, and under it write in small text, tangible. Okay, so touch. Think of the word touched with the letter T. So that helps you remember it. So tangible. So to manifest is to bring the tangible to reality. Okay. Manifest tangible to reality. Okay. So I'm gonna make something else clear now. Why do we manifest? But why? Why do we do this? Why do people feel the need to do this? Why does it make them feel better about themselves, about their lives, make them feel, yes, that's the answer, more productive? So write production, because you're doing the act of producing, right? Production. You're producing and being productive, okay? Another reason you can argue is to change your current reality, right? You want to change your tangible reality to something that may be intangible, but then it becomes your reality. So, change. That's another one. Change. Okay. Another reason we can do this, I guess you can argue out of boredom or just to test it to see if it works. And once we test to see if it works, then we go on and do the same thing for the next thing we desire in life, and then the next one, and the next one. And the more you do it, the more you believe in it. So you want something to believe in. So that's another reason. Belief system. Sorry, this marker is not the best. Belief system. Okay. That's a big component to this, because you want to produce and be productive. You want to stay busy. You want change. Change will only come with the production. It won't come just sitting there and waiting for it to happen. And your beliefs will make the change happen. Your beliefs causes you to be more productive. So you're working towards something. So they're all going within each other. Okay, change needs production. Production is caused by belief. Your beliefs trigger the change. I'm trying to see how to do this with the arrows, but I guess I could do this in the corner there. Okay, so it's a cycle within one another between these three. So that's why we do this. So when you grasp that reality of why we do this, what is going on while you're doing this, and how to get there, then you begin to see the magic happen. And the more you produce, the more change you see, the more you believe naturally in that progress and that change. And then it makes you do it all over again. It makes you want to do it more. So you produce for the change to make you believe more. So it's like feeding you. It's like fuel to you. You know, the more results you see, the more you continue that cycle. So that's how you get the inevitable, the unknown, to your seeked for reality, in a sense. Okay, so let's put this here. Let's use a darker color here, like teal. So when you get a clear vision in your mind of why this is, then we can go ahead and set this aside. So I'm going to block this out to kind of give you more room on this board. So let's move forward here. So how do you begin? Where do you start? What do you have to do to trigger the first step, which is production? What gets you motivated? What will spark the interest in you? Or what exactly are you seeking to get? So instead of looking at the why, like I just did here, why, now you gotta look at the what. Not so much the what if, because the if destroys the belief system. If you have if, you can never even get to the change or the production. So you can't focus on that. You have to think of, what is it that I want? So let's write, so why, what, right here, what. What is it that I seek? What is it that I look for? And please be sure to watch this in full screen so you can see the board in its entirety instead of squinting. Okay, so you may have an idea of wanting to open a business or buy a Louis Vuitton Damier purse with monogram print in the color pink and beige, or you may want to hire people to work for you. So you just need to look within yourself and figure exactly out what it is. And I know there's something there in you. If there's multiple things, then that's even better. You already have it figured out. You already know what you want to do with your time of production. But if you suddenly get thoughts like, I want to do this, but I'll never make it, or I'll never get there. That's going back to the if, and that's going back to this, where you deny these things. So if you have that thought, you better not even write it down or try, because if you'll never end up believing in it that it'll work, then why bother? It probably will not work itself out. So you need to have a solid focus on something that you truly in your heart feel that you will accomplish. Start with that. Start small. Start with something basic like that. You know, the biggest mistake people make is they start off with something that is challenging, and they want to try to believe in it and like try to force themselves to, and then it doesn't work, and then that destroys their confidence, destroys their belief system and their motivation to produce. So I might as well underline produce, because that's like the number one. I'll just write one. It's where you start. This is 2. start with something like, I will get, instead of straight A's completely, like I will get an A in this class. So let's write it as an example. Get A in one class, one specific one, not just one out of all of them, but like one of the ones you know that may be a bit more challenging than the one. Like let's say you have an A, a B, a C, and a D, and an F. So you don't need to work on the A class. You already are good at that. So the next step, that's what I mean by don't take the challenge of working on the F, going to an A right away. No, that's not how this works. You gotta focus on the B class. That's the next step. Then the C. Once you improve the A, you keep improving the A, but you improve the B. Then you'll see that result in step 1, 2, 3. Then you'll improve the C class. So work on getting the A for that B class, if that makes sense. So get A. That's an example of what we want. So that's starting small, that's starting simple. That should be motivating enough for you already as it is. And pretty much 99% of people can do something that small. Following these 3 simple steps, which naturally follow. I mean, you don't even need to do anything. It's just like its own process of appeal, if that makes sense. So that's just one example I wrote of what, so we can divide that into its own section once we figure out what we want, okay? So we already answered why. We already answered what. We don't need to answer who. Who are we doing this for? Ourselves, duh. I'm going to write it anyway, just to write in your notes as a gentle reminder. But I'll write it here. Who? I'll write it really small because it's not that. Well, it is important, but it's not an urgency of, oh my gosh, I have to remember who I'm doing this for. Now, you already know. Duh, it's you. You. You keep this to yourself. You don't tell anyone. You don't do this or live to appeal to anyone, okay? Your dream is always going to be separate from someone else's. So if someone has something that you want, you probably don't really want that, if that makes sense. We all have our unique goals and visions in life, like DNA, and nobody has the same 2 visions of their perfect life scenario. So if you're entranced by a certain lifestyle or mesmerized by how someone achieved a certain amount of success, well, analyze and study their life. Study it for a few days and see, is everything in their life really what you want your life to be? If not, which 100% of the time it's not, then you'll realize quickly that everyone has their set of problems. Everyone has their set of things to be mad about, jealous about, lie about, you know. So that, in a sense, will make you feel better and more confident in yourself that you can do your vision, because no one else has that vision, as long as you don't share it with anyone else. Because when you share your goals and dreams with people, they will try to either stop you, or they will try to tell you you're not going to make it, or you're crazy, or they'll try to get what you want, and then when they get it, that will just bring a whole frustration and knock this whole belief system out the park. So never tell anyone your goals. Okay, so that's it. Who, what, why, when. When do you want this to happen? Do you have a plan for when? Well, guess what? You can't rush the process, okay? Because you don't know exactly when you're going to get the A. You know it's coming, but you don't know when. Is it going to be this quarter? Is it going to be next quarter? You may have a goal and pressure yourself to make it happen this quarter, but that pressure to time it may divinely stop you from progressing in other grades, you know? Like, you may be pressured to do it this month, and then all of a sudden the C class is the A, and now the current A you have got knocked down to a B, and then next quarter, that B is finally an A, but then you sabotage the other classes. So a lot of times it can distract us to have time limits, and it will will knock this out because it will make you feel the pressure. So I wouldn't focus on when, I would just focus on how. And we're going to work on that next, so let's write that down. I'll write it here, when. And I'll write a question mark next to it, because we don't know. We don't know. Who, what, when, where. Where is next. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. So where and how is next. So I'll do where and then I'll do how, okay? So where exactly? Do you want this to occur? I forgot to underline when. Does it really matter? No. It can be anywhere. You can do this from your house, by studying. You can do this in Egypt. I don't care. You can study in Egypt, you know. Same with your goals. Your goals will be achieved anywhere where it's meant to. So that is always insignificant. You should never focus on that. That should be pretty straightforward, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that. But, how? That's the big question that we're going to work on now. How? All right, so how? Let's go over the rest. Why? To produce change in your life and your belief system. When? Whenever. Who? You. What? You need to figure that out. Where? Anywhere. How? So, you're probably thinking here, okay, Tony, how the heck am I going to get where I need to be? So you might think and think and think, but then the thinking pressures you and goes against your beliefs. So you need to not think, you need to let it go. That's the first step. Let go. Don't analyze the situation under any circumstance. Because when you do this, you block what you're trying to get. You block the blessing. So let go. Don't analyze. What's the next thing you need to realize? No ifs, what, or buts. Okay. No. If that happens. If I get the A. No, it's gonna happen. Belief. No. What? No, maybe I need to change the what. No. And no buts. Like, but I can't do this. Stop making excuses for yourself. Stop saying, but it's because of this I couldn't get the A. It's because of that class. No, there's no ifs, whats, or buts. And you have to let go and not analyze it. Meaning, no ifs, whats, or buts. Okay? No excuses. We constantly make excuses for ourselves. And that blocks things so much. So, not cool. So, now you're like, okay, I've let go. I've stopped analyzing. I've stopped making excuses for myself and doubting my what. What's next? How is this going to come? Guess what? The cycle forms. Now you can link it together. Now all of a sudden, you're motivated to produce whatever it is you have to do to get that A. You know what it is to do. You know the answer as to how. You can start producing. You can start studying, or you can start taking more notes. You can start asking more questions. Yada, yada, yada. So that is the blank paper of life. That is up to you. How? Okay? Who? You. So these link together, and you will get the answer. And you will just naturally get the motivation. Okay, motivation. and the resilience to want to start these 3 steps. Okay? So let's number these things. Where should we really begin? If you're still confused, where should we really focus our energy? First and foremost, I would say what, but then that doesn't get down to the basics. Who are you trying to appeal? Maybe should be first. Not why. You start asking questions and doubting yourself later on the process. Not when, that comes after. Where, that comes after. So it's who. Who is always number 1. You need to work on yourself first and appeal to you. Then what? What comes next? Then you'll decide what to do. You may then suddenly doubt yourself and start asking why or how. So I'll put 3 to 4 because these things are together. So why and how are 3 to 4. Then you'll start asking yourself the details of where and when. So that's 5 to 6 right there. 5 to 6. Those are the minor, unimportant details. Now, if you really want to have a laser point focus on the exact details of who, what, when, where, why, how, then you can go ahead and be specific in your goals and question yourself where and when. But those are the least important. If you know you're going to get it, they are going to happen whether you're in beliefs or not. So now you may think to yourself, okay, Tony, this is all analytical in its own regard. This is your opinion, or this is too calculated. If it was this easy, everyone would have figured it out by now. Where is the spiritual or metaphysical part in this? Okay, so I'm going to wipe this once you completely taken notes. You may pause this video at any time since it's a YouTube session class. And I'll get into it, but so far we've gone over the basics, and the belief system is the main key I'm going to be focusing on next to finish this class off, okay? Because that is the part where in itself change begins to occur. So you done with the notes? Good. Let me rewind and go back to it when necessary. This has helped some of you get a clear beginning understanding or a broader perspective on why we do this. For those who are skeptical, at least, or just curious to know how this all works and starts and blossoms itself into production. So let's try it. It should be dry by now. Okay. This shouldn't take too much more of your time, as the rest is kind of downhill from here, now that you get a basic understanding of what this is. Man, that's good. Okay, so I'm going to write it again. Beliefs. Beliefs. What are your beliefs? Okay, if you have doubt, this can block you, so let's write blockages. In one corner. the blockages. Doubt, right? We said doubt. Self-doubt. To be specific. These are the inhibitors. The blockers, okay? Like how we have inhibitors that we take in our medication to block certain production of, let's say, example, white blood cell formation. So, thus making us feel less ill, right? It's kind of a coder. It may make you feel better for a while and coat the pain of not knowing or not getting what we truly seek in our heart and mind and soul. But these are temporary fixes for a long-term problem, okay? We tell ourselves these things to make ourselves feel better, to ration and rationalize with ourselves. Rationalize as to why we can't get there. So we're like, let's say we want to be in a movie, right? So we start saying, oh, we're ugly, my back is too crooked, my nose is too big. Like, we start doubting and we start making up the excuses, like I said before, as to why we can't make it on set, okay? But in the tangible reality, does anyone really care how you look? Maybe you're good for that part of a role, you know? I mean, look at the movie Precious and Placida. Like, nobody would have ever expected her to be a huge actress, and look what she did first, though. Because she probably didn't have this self-doubt. She was seeking, she had a what plan, and she went after it beyond the doubt, okay? So, you need to remove that inhibitor from your life. You need to say goodbye to it, and you need to shoo it away. Like dust, okay? That's a blockage, okay? So, another thing we can block ourselves from manifesting is, I could say belief system, but all of this in its own category is a belief system. Like, if you have a belief system of self-doubt that you may not even consciously be aware of, then that is its own blockage. So I'm not going to write something that specific, because the positives are also a belief system, so let's not go there. I'm going to write something like our actions, what we do daily. So if we decide to suddenly sleep in until 2 o'clock every afternoon, what do you think you're gonna get done? So focus on how you actively and passively make steps to progress to your goal. And passive means your thoughts, which we're going to go into next, such as doubt. So that's the obvious main one, is actions. And actually people don't realize this, that we have certain habits or patterns every day that we do, like a cycle that affect us positively or negatively, that we may need to change. So it's something as little as your diet to as large as the way you treat people, perhaps, or the way you look at yourself, which is a whole nother spiritual analysis, which I can make a whole nother video about. So that's the thing, our fears and worries. Well, I'll just write fears, because fears can be anxiety, worry. We may have fear of our depression, which will trigger more depression, and so fears. You need to obliterate and get rid of whatever you are fearful of, even if it's that what you're trying to reach. If you're fearful of that what, you're either going to reach it because you're constantly fearful of it, because it makes you comfortable. It avoids doubt from others or yourself. We like to do things to numb that negative feeling. So we're stuck in our negative feeling because we are inhibiting ourselves. Okay? The inhibitor. And we try to obviously avoid the fear. So avoiding is a negative subject of its own. So if you avoid what may actually get you where you need to go, then that is holding you back. Okay? So doubt, action, fear. And what else do you think we could write under here? We have 2 more bullet points. I'm sure there's a lot more we could do, but let us write kind of what I said earlier, judgment, but not regarding fear, but others' opinions, people. I can just write people in general because we're all within each other trying to kind of do the same in different forms. So I could write people slash opinion. In a non-fearful light. Meaning not that you're scared of what people will think, but so much more that people's impressions of your what. So that's kind of going back to trying not to tell people what you're trying to get. So people can also be in the way and stop you, like if you're married and maybe or if you have certain obstacles in your life that you feel like may be an obstacle. Like, I'm not saying getting married is an obstacle, but that may be to you, to getting your actual reality you want. So let's say, for example, you're very specific and detailed. You write one day in a notebook journal exactly what you want, and then you realize, oh no, I actually don't want to be married anymore. So in that regard, in that specific detail, being married may actually inhibit you from getting that what? Your ultimate goal. There has to be at least one big goal you have to have in that list. Disregarding the little things, but in this case, those little things may actually inhibit you from that big thing. So make sure to keep yourself in check and make sure you have everything that you want to maintain that level of happiness for you to get it. Because if you're not in this uplifted, vibratory mood, this positive mood, then you're not going to get to this next side. That's why I'm focusing on this bad side first. So, mood. That's what I should go after as the last point is mood. Feeling. It's all dependent on a feeling. How you feel in a certain moment in time can help progress you. So this is where it gets metaphysical, spiritual. This is where I may lose some of you in terms of focus. If you don't really know this is or believe in it, but basically you have to be in a constant, or most of the time at least, state of a positive, uplifted, happy and cheerful mood to be in your best, alert, sane, stable state of mind, to be open to universal messages, to get where you need to be toward your blessing. So if you're in this down mood of self-doubt and action fear, people's opinions, you will never be open to listen to how to get there, to your what, okay? I keep pointing that side, that corner, because that's where I wrote what, so that kind of helps. I'm trying to help some of you visual learners as well. It may help to make you process this more better, but once you conquer these 4, then you can focus on the mood and the feeling, because then you have none of these things to stop you from feeling this good. Okay, so this will then link onto this side, and I can begin to write in blue pen. This works well. Not so much. I might need another blue. Once you've analyzed and figured out the who, what, when, where, why, how, and these 4 main blockages, and I'm actually going to number them. 1, 2. Maybe this marker wasn't such a good idea. 3 and 4. See, like this marker. You may come to a realization afterwards that that's not actually what you want. Make sure that doesn't happen, because one, big waste of time. Two, it can probably knock some of your belief as well. So make sure. This is why they say careful what you wish for. Okay. Make sure it's what you want. So let's go. Yeah, red is way better. Okay, now. Make sure it's what you want. So after that, 4, you can focus on the 5, which will get you here on the next level. So that's where it gets spiritual. Like when you get down to the basic needs of humanity and you take care of your basics. Write down what's bothering you, why it's bothering you, and you look at yourself and analyze to summarize it up, because this will take a whole other video to teach you how to do that. Then you can focus on the positives, and then you can progressively, actively move forward. You know, there's no one set scale. It's a timeline, and it's a never-ending one. You can constantly evolve and grow, and you can constantly move back and go back. So I even drew arrows to kind of help visualize this. Even this marker sucks. Okay, you can go back on the timeline or progressively move ahead and evolve. All right. Oh, jeez. You know what? We'll stick to the same marker color. It just helps you visualize better. So, things you can do to actively move forward and work toward the what. I'll even write the what here in the corner. Okay, what is wrong with this marker today? Or this whiteboard, maybe? What? Okay, that's the key goal there. What? Things you can do. Well, look at doubt, self-doubt. Things you can do instead are, for starters, believe in yourself. So let's start with that. How do you do that? You know and are capable in yourself and confident enough to know that you can do this. Nobody else can, because nobody else can get that exact same what that you are seeking. Only you can. So with that realization, you should know this is set in stone. So actions, what can you do productively to change this? I should write it down here in parentheses here, because on this side it's mishaps, bad actions, unhealthy ones even, like diet. So you can focus more instead of what you're doing bad or wrong. Instead, think of what you're doing right, and that will slowly help you get ahead, such as getting enough sleep or doing your whatever you're already doing to try to get that goals at A. So studying, for example. I would say to make this more clear for you, instead of writing the same word action so they're not parallel, you should just to keep it short and simple, focus on good. Because every day we don't realize how much we focused on, oh my gosh, it's too hot outside, or oh my gosh, I'm so hungry, or oh my gosh, what is that like weird smell? Like we're constantly negative. We don't realize it, but we are. So just simply focusing on good will change your actions in its regards. I should even draw little arrows in between, because these kind of impact each other in their own regards. So let's do that. Fierce. So instead of fierce, we have fearlessness within ourselves. But again, instead of writing the same word, what's linked to fearlessness? Confidence, right? The way we observe ourselves, the way we look at ourselves. So let's write self-observation. So I guess you could do that negatively on this side, but here you're more aware of yourself and what your strengths are, your competence. Okay, so that's why I'm writing that on that corner. You could write in parentheses if that helps you, like strength. Qualities, characteristics. Alright, char, character, car. There. Okay. People and their opinions. One thing you can do to avoid any problems is to avoid things like gossiping about other people or, being more productive with your time rather than talking about other people's problems. Because when you're so focused on them, then you lose that focus of the what again. So being wise with your time is one thing to not only do positive reinforcement action, but also avoid this negative self-talk or talk of other people, because the way you talk of other people typically reflects on yourself. So conscious of timing. Conscious. I meant to write conscious. Time. And time really, we do have all of us limited amount, right? To get that what. So doing that sort of talk doesn't serve you anymore. You just gotta let it go. So the mood and feeling, finally we can get down to the more metaphysical side again. And then we can say, okay, since we feel good, we're more aware, and we're more self-conscious in a good way of how our mood affects our life and goes within each other, like the arrows I did earlier, into other circumstances, like conscious of time can link to actions and of people, and self-observation can link to fear and doubt of self. Believing in yourself can link to doubt of self and your mood and feeling and how you feel that day. And maybe you were so focused that whole day of how you felt and how bad you felt, you weren't conscious at the time. So all of these link within each other. So then you grasp the difference between what is and isn't reality, time and space, and then how you make a change for yourself. So that's where I'm going to write finally here, spiritual awareness, because then you will have evolved into this being of constant consciousness. That's where I meant to say consciousness instead of conscious is being aware of something, but your consciousness is the active action of being conscious, okay? And how you feel inside. So spiritual awareness. And then I'll write /evolution, because then you will have grown like a butterfly and evolved. So this is like the last step. Like once you have this on mark, then you can finally get what you're looking for. The answer will come, and you will just, it'll be like, it'll happen. When you get this, you will know right away. So when you've worked on yourself in this regards, you will completely be capable of getting whatever it is you need, okay? And this may even take some time, but maybe it takes time because you missed a spot or you forgot to work on something else specific. So nothing is set in stone. I'm not saying you have to work on all of these and get them 100% to get them. No. Okay, these are just helping points, like ladder step stones for you. If you already feel secure in yourself and all this, and you feel like you're able to do all these things yourself, then it will definitely increase your chances of getting where you want to be, okay? But I hope this has helped some of you. I some of you more self-aware and realize that we're all just trying to progress here. We all have